Hello guys. Welcome to my channel, your Tempest Federation. In our previous episode, we have seen how Eastern Empire makes a plot to give favors to the Tempest. If you have not watched the previous episode, I will put a link in the description below. To quick warning, this video contains spoilers from a light novel. But before we proceed further, please like, subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell for further updates. In this video, we will see how Eastern Empire is in trouble. Now without further delay, let's proceed further. I see it is Your Majesty Rimuru. A pleasure to meet you. I sincerely apologize for only greeting you just now. Duke Muse had quite the style of a nobleman as he bowed elegantly. He only panicked for a second upon seeing me before regaining his composure. A gentle expression emerged on his face as he greeted me in the place of everyone else at the scene. So you are Duke Muse of the Gustan Kingdom. Why are you here? Shouldn't you have no business here? I smiled and said the line that I prepared. There was no need for me to be timid just because he was a nobleman, so I responded quite smoothly. Practice and rehearsals sure are important. The thing was, a lot of these people were trading with your nation for the first time. They came complaining to me about how their legitimate rights were despised upon. It is the duty of a nobleman to protect my citizens. So I came despite knowing the rudeness of my intervention in order to have a verdict on the matter. How shameless. This guy's a wolf in sheep's clothing. Although with that being said, I'm not any better than him, except that I'm a slime, so I'm pretty transparent. I see, how tireless of you. But there's one strange thing I must say. Miles over there said that our nation has a big enough budget to afford the payment, but there was a delay in the final transaction. How was it the case? Well, about that, it's because these people would only accept dwarven gold coins. Miles was a good actor. He pretended to panic upon hearing my question and tried to explain. But he was interrupted by Duke Muse. That is only natural. Miles, if you were a licensed merchant in Bloomin' Kingdom in the past, you should be well versed in the international charter with regards to trade. Unlike whatever rubbish that's been carried out in that Freedom Association, these people only trust dwarven gold coins, Duke Muse explained calmly to back up the merchants gathered here. He was definitely acting like a neutral third party with good intentions on purpose, trying to mend the matter for us and sell me a favor. That's why no matter how you looked at his attitude now, it would appear justified. But this is no different from forcing others to follow their rules. I quickly glanced at Diablo. Having understood, Diablo smiled and nodded back in response. Now we have everything prepared. I see, so that's how it is. I was wondering what happened when I heard that reporters from all the nations gathered here. So this is for something this minor. So Rimuru-sama, please just leave me to handle it. Seeing the pressure coming from Benimaru, some of the merchants were terrified. Everything seemed to be going according to plan. They were taking the bait that we were pressuring them into submission. Don't get so worked up, Benimaru. It is understandable why the merchants were worried after hearing their explanation. As I tried to calm Benimaru down, he seemed surprised. He almost looked unpleasant as the ordeal got interrupted despite the smooth smiling before. But Rimuru-sama, I am confused. Even if we didn't have dwarven gold coins, we still have ancient gold coins. If they won't take that either, we can always just give them the equivalent value of our nation's specialties. Why wouldn't they accept these terms? I believe that the merchants surely had their reasons as well. I observed Duke Muse's reactions while making these conversations. It seemed like he was looking for an opening to interrupt. He wanted to be the guy to convince the merchants and lend us a favor. How about we do it like that? Would you first place your trust in our nation and, as Benimaru-sama suggested, to conclude the transaction with a certificate or actual goods? To finish things once and for all, Miles took the first shot. If they agreed, then everything could be concluded peacefully. But if they were to decline, if they won't even step down now with my presence, we will be forced to act with resolve. How can we entrust you with that? That's right. It was precisely because this was the Monster Kingdom that we wished to be paid in a safe currency, such as the dwarven gold coins. I do hope that your nation will be considerate about it. It seemed not all of them were merchants who were not accustomed to such situations. There were people who knew how to deal with the nobles. But what they said was all incredibly selfish and didn't consider us at all. Ah, what a pity. I thought. Muse believed that the time was now. He was worried that after being intimidated by the Demon Lord, these merchants would leave out of fear. But they were still listening to Muse's order. But that was natural, to be honest. Muse was the Duke of Gustan. Even though he was of the young age of 35, he managed to be acquainted with the great Rosso family. They were one of the dominating forces of the Western nations, with extraordinary statuses. Only a few had this power. Therefore, in reality, those who dared to oppose Muse's order were less than few. The plan he was sent to enact this time came from the divine order of the Elder of the Rosso. He ordered Muse to give favors to Demon Lord Rimuru and earn his trust. He also promised to promote him to one of the 5 great elders when his task was completed. The 5 great elders, the people who stood at the top of the world. Muse was overjoyed. And he swore to carry out this order with all the power he had, no matter what. Muse promised those greedy merchants that he would help them rise to affluence. He dragged the reporters of different nations down with him, in order to ensure his personal safety. Muse was going to confront Demon Lord Rimuru himself. This was a job only he could accomplish. It was said that Demon Lord Rimuru, not long after his birth as Demon Lord, butchered Demon Lord DISCLAIMER, who was known for his cruelty. He then established himself as the new Demon Lord. Moreover, according to rumors, he was also acquainted with the storm dragon that massacred 20,000 soldiers in the past. He was a fearsome Demon Lord. He was initially afraid to be in contact with Demon Lord Rimuru directly, but when comparing his fear to the future glory that he would bear, he managed to overcome his fear easily. Muse was a man that only saw profit. And it was for this reason that he was manipulated by people, which he himself had yet to notice. All of this was exactly as predicted by Omija Sarian. It was honestly surprising to Muse that the Demon Lord would personally come to such an occasion with his executives. He was planning to take down the man called Miles before requesting to meet the Demon Lord. Although it turned out differently from what Muse had planned, this in a sense had saved him plenty of work. There were reporters at the scene right now, and apparently more reporters were flooding in on the main lobby downstairs. That meant that all his preparations were in place. When the merchants rejected the Demon Lord's proposal, Muse's plan would be a success. The rest would be for him to calm the merchants and take over the situation. This alone should have Demon Lord Rimuru in his good grace already. Muse was convinced of his success, and spoke with a calm expression. I am unsure about your view on the situation right now, Your Majesty. But if you are troubled, would you mind discussing the matter with me personally? One should treasure every encounter, and I would love to offer my aid to your grace. Should I say that I've seen this coming, or should I call his acting too horrible? This was the suggestion that Duke Muse came up with. Every executive standing behind me was giving the Duke a cold glare. Observing their expressions, Duke Muse looked quite anxious. It seemed that he had realized that something was not going as expected. Now, time to wrap things up. How kind of you to have such a thought, but there is no such need. Come in. Geld entered the room upon hearing my command. In his hands was a plate with mountains of gold coins piling on each other. No way. Are those all? The room was riled up. Duke Muse's expression changed drastically upon seeing the gold coins. It seemed that he had realized the failure of his plan. Since you've asked us to pay. Very well, here are the dwarven gold coins as requested. Rigurd announced. At that moment, the room fell silent. Please, hold on a moment, Your Majesty Rimuru. Duke Muse was panicking. But it was already too late. What is it? I asked coldly as Duke Muse asked me with a desperate expression. Are all of these dwarven gold coins? You know it's illegal to make counterfeit coins. Heh. And you dare talk to me in that way? How very rude of you, Muse-kun. You dare say something so disrespectful towards Rimuru-sama. Diablo walked forward as he finished. Benimaru also gave a furious expression, while Xian, who stood behind me, had been giving off a dangerous aura from just now. It was precisely because this was how things would turn out that I had hoped Muse would mind his tone. My apologies for the intrusion. But are these really all? You may have them appraised, if you have doubts. As I said so with a smile, Duke Muse shivered. Then do indulge me, and allow me to use my precious magic item to investigate. It was already rude enough for this person to interrupt my conversation between Muse. Never mind, there's no need to penalize him. This merchant was probably one of the co-conspirators under Duke Muse's command. Out of panic, he might have forgotten the good manners he was raised to abide by. This guy was all pretending to be courteous to begin with. Although I was no better, I cut out to be a ruler either, so I couldn't really judge them. Whatever the case, we should continue the conversation. Rimuru-sama, many reporters were asking if they could document the negotiation as part of a news report. What do you think? Shuna asked from the other side of the door through telepathy net, after she had acted in accordance with my plan. The reporters had gathered outside according to the demand of Diablo. If I gave the order, they would rush in as witnesses. If that's the case, isn't it perfect timing? We will have the reporters as witnesses to your appraisal on the authenticity of these gold coins, Benimaru announced, playing along with Shuna. And as planned, the reporters entered the conference room. These are authentic, Muse's henchman shouted in astonishment. It took us so much work to get these, of course they are all real. There's no way these are fake. From appearance alone you can tell they pack a punch. Some even look quite dated, they must not have been flowing in the market, a reporter who looked knowledgeable commented. Those were probably the ones exchanged from Omija. That gal seemed to have saved up as much as she could. Now that even the reporters were analyzing the authenticity of the gold coins, Muse's henchmen couldn't really do anything to aid his cause. The reporters were useful, in that they could prevent these people from switching the gold coins to counterfeits. But even if they did, Sae, who had been observing in the shadows, wouldn't allow it to transpire. Now, is that enough? Those merchants looked quite concerned about the payment. Hurry up and pay them already. As I announced so arrogantly, Rigard and Meyermiles nodded and said, yes sir. They then began the process of verifying contracts and paying the merchants. And there wasn't much slip-up later. Under the watch of the reporters, the transactions were completed smoothly. Looks like you were the last one. With that, all payments were delivered. This concluded all transactions during the festival. That's it for today guys. See you next one. For further more update please like, share and subscribe. And do not forget to push notification bell.